Hello, hello everybody, and welcome to the start of your math this semester. This is Miss Fergus, and I'm going to quickly go over how to work in your course, specifically in Apex, what's expected of you. This course is really designed around you practicing your skills and making sure you are ready, and then taking assessments which count for your grade. So there's lots of opportunities for practice in our math class, and that's what I'm going to take you through right now. So when you're on your math page, the first thing you want to do to get into your math class, you always want to enter right here your Apex online textbook, this link right here. Click here to open your textbook. When you click on that, your Apex classes load. You might have more than one if you have another class that also uses the Apex textbook. Your Algebra 2 should appear. If it doesn't, you need to email me right away. So you click on your Algebra 2. Up pops your Algebra 2 math class. You will notice off to the left here, for second semester work, we are starting in Unit 7. These units are what we covered first semester, and we're leaving them open for you so you can go back and reference things as a resource, so you can go back and look things up again. So second semester in this course, Algebra 2 Semester 2 is going to start in Unit 7. And notice the only thing that's appearing is 7.1. When I complete 7.1, the next lesson, 7.2, will open. How do you know what to do? You have your learning plan contract that tells you what order to work in the class. So notice your learning plan contract. You want to print this off if you haven't yet. Week 1, we're starting here in Unit 7, 7.1, and I'm going to complete the study, the checkup, and the quiz for this lesson called proportions. And then I'm going to move to 7.2. When I am done with that, I am done for my suggested work for the week. Bam. If I want to work ahead, I can work ahead. Next week, I'm expected to do 3 lessons and all the parts, the study, the checkup, and the quiz to each of those. So let's go back into our Apex math book and see what each of those parts look like. So we're in 7.1. Proportions is the name of the game. The front page of every lesson has your lesson objectives. So this tells you exactly what you are going to study and know how to do by the end of this lesson. If you don't feel confident in your abilities to do any of these objectives that you see on this front page, it's your job to get help before you take the quiz for this lesson. How do you get help? You can use outside resources. You can go through the lesson again. You can contact me. All great ways to get help. So the first page of your study, proportions, click here for key terms, up pops vocab. If at any time during the lesson these words are being used and you're not sure what they are, you can go back and you can look up those words. You can even use these to write down notes for yourself. The first part of the lesson is called the study. So this is as if you were in a math class in a building and your teacher is teaching you how to do it. So this is your math book going through and explaining the process of the concepts. There's also a lot of built-in practice in here, and it's really important that you do all the practice. So before you do the study, before you go through the pages, notice there are 23 pages in this study. You're going to go up here, click for your study sheet, and print off a scaffolded notes sheet. That's called your study sheet. Every single lesson has one. You're going to print this off, and then you're going to take notes on it as you go through your study. How helpful is this going to be on your quiz at the end? Super helpful. You'll be able to look back at examples and practice problems as you go. In your study, you want to go through every single slide and every single interactive piece, because this is what helps you learn the math. The more you skip and the faster you go through the studies, the harder it's going to be for you on the quizzes. And you want to know the quizzes at a B or A level, so then when you get to your assessments, the things that count for your grade, you get great scores. And then you have a good grade in the class. So let's go through a couple of these pages. So page 1, page 2. If you want the computer to read out loud to you, you can click reading support. If you need to review concepts, here's a rediscover button. Check it out. All of these are interactive pieces. Make sure you understand every single thing that you see on these slides. If not, that is an email to me. Miss Fergus, I'm on study 7.1.1 proportions and I don't understand what it says on slide 3 when it says the ratio of student to teacher is 2,400 to 160. Where did they get those numbers from? Notice that's a very specific question, so I know exactly where to go to help you out. You don't want to say, Miss Fergus, I don't get it. 7.1 study proportions, I don't get it. That's way too vague for me to know how to help you. So the more specific, the better. So you're going to go completely through all 23 pages of your study. Pretend like you've gone through it. On one of the very last pages of the study, there's interactive practice. So this is where you actually practice. So answer the 3 questions below. What is the value of X in this proportion? I'm going to practice and I'm going to get feedback whether or not I know this material. And I'm not going to guess my way through. I want to actually make sure I know how to get the right answers. If I don't know how to get one of these answers, I'm going to contact my teacher right away. And I'm going to say, this problem, X over 43 equals 5/6. I don't get how they got 30. Here's the work I did, and I got 1.6. Can you please help me? More practice, a sample quiz that you're going to do, and then the last step on every study is to check your answers. So you printed off that study sheet on the very first page, you filled it out as you went. Now your job is to check your answers. Your answers for your study sheet are going to be posted in your math class. Excuse me. They are not available in Apex. They are going to be back here in your class. And I am going to make a folder under Unit 1 here for all of the Apex lessons in that unit. So you can check your answers before you move on. When you're done with your study and you've checked your answer, the next part of the lesson is to do your checkup. Your checkup is another worksheet. This time, the answers are available in Apex. So you want to print off this checkup worksheet. If you don't have a printer hooked up, you're going to want to work these out on your paper. And you're going to want to label it 7.1.2 proportions checkup. Because again, you get to use this on your quizzes, on your unit tests, even on your semester final. So to have things labeled is really important. So you're going to do all these problems, and then you're going to verify your answers. There's no point in doing practice problems in math unless you get feedback that you're doing it correctly. And there's no point in taking a quiz unless you practiced ahead of time and you know that you're going to do well on the quiz. So let's make sure you know where to check your answers. So on your checkup, go to page 2. And up here on the top, notice now it says answer key. Click on this and the answers to that worksheet show up. Not only the answers, but all the steps. Very helpful for you problem solving how to do these problems. Now, here's the only bugger. Once you press show answers, you are unable as a student to go back and get the original blank worksheet. So you want to make sure that you print off the blank worksheet first before you press show answers, because you cannot undo that piece. So if you press show answers and then you want to do the worksheet, you're going to have to write out those problems by hand. Only after you are done with your study sheet and your study and you've checked your answers and then you've done the same thing on your checkup and you have all your notes in front of you, then you go on to your quiz. So each Apex lesson has a quiz. You get 3 attempts to pass it with a 70% or higher. So you're going to take your quiz. If you score 70 or higher, you automatically are going to go on to the next lesson, 7.2. If you don't score 70, you are locked out of Apex, and you will need to contact me, and we will need to do some work together before you are ready to retake that quiz. And the first thing I'm going to ask you is for you to show me your study sheet and your checkup sheet with all of your work before I unlock anything. So you should really do it ahead of time and do it right the first time. When you are done with your quiz, you are able to get your answers. So I got a wrong answer. I just submitted a wrong answer, but the answer is 35. So me as a student, I'm writing this problem down and I'm actually writing down the correct answer. And I'm going to work out this problem and make sure that I know how to get the correct answer of 35 before I move on. Because that's feedback for me as a learner. I'm doing something wrong if I'm getting the wrong answer. So you're going to go through, take your quiz. At the very end, they'll give you a printout. They'll show you how you did on your quiz. And then if you pass your quiz 70% or higher, the next lesson opens up, 7.2. These quizzes do not count towards your math grade. The only things that count towards your math grade are your unit tests. There's one at the end of each unit in Apex. It's called a computer scored test. And then also back in your course, you've got what's called a summative assessment. So you've got a summative assessment to complete for each unit, and you've also got a CST, a computer scored test, to complete for each unit. Those are the 2 things that give you grades for Unit 1. Not the quizzes, but you have to pass the quizzes to show that you are ready to take the assessments that count. So that, in a nutshell, is how you are going to work in this class. I hope you've caught the theme is to practice, practice, practice before you take any quizzes or assessments.